Everyone. Hi, I am Dr. Denise Simpson. I hope you guys are fantastic. I just need a quick second so I can see if I am live on my Facebook page. Yeah, excellent. I so hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. I'm here in Austin, and so far so good. Although the beginning of the week was a little rough and a little unsteady, but I think we're going to end this week on a high note. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you're watching the replay, we always love for you to say hello. Let us know who you are and where you are watching us. So this is Lead with Intent. So Lead with Intent is a weekly show where leaders gather so that we could talk about mindset, skill set, and behaviors that conscientious leaders take. So if you are someone who has a formal leadership title, great, this show is for you. But if you're someone who does not and is interested in sharpening their leadership skills, then this is also the show for you. So if you are someone who's leading your family, or you're leading your community, or even leading a place of worship, or or a church, this is also the show for you. So again, whether you have formal qualifications as a leader or not, this show is for you. So thank you so much for joining us. I see Anne is here. Hello there. So glad you're here, Anne. I always love when Anne shows up. Thank you so much. I always feel much better when she's here. So sorry, Anne, I've grown a dependency on you. Just kidding. But we are going to have a really great show today. We're going to talk about the other four-letter word, fear. No, not the other F word, the four-letter word, fear. And we're going to get into that topic in just a second. But before we do that, I want you guys to share your wins with us. You know, this is what we do. This is a ritual. This is something that I want us to do at the top of our show every week, because it's important that we celebrate each other. Life is really tough, and we all struggle in our own ways, and we're all faced with, different challenges and different fears and different demons. And I want for you to share in the comments below, use the hashtag wins, and let us know what we're going to celebrate this week. So let us know. As far as a win for me, I have to say, it could have canceled today's show. I was off to a really, really rough start this week, and a lot of fear popped up for me early on this week, and I even contemplated ending the show altogether, because it takes some hard work and it takes commitment. More importantly, it takes commitment to you for me to be here every Thursday at 1 p.m., whether you're here or not. I have to, come to terms with that. And I was rationalizing in my brain all the reasons why I shouldn't do a weekly show. I thought of maybe moving into a podcast format or into a YouTube video format. And maybe that is something that I will eventually do. But there was a lot of fear and a lot of rationalization around those fears this week. And it took a lot for me to show up today, honestly. So I'm here to serve. And that's what I had to remember. I'm here to serve you, and whoever shows up or whoever watches the replay. My primary goal is to provide you with as much valuable content as possible, so that we can improve and better our lives and better ourselves. And so that's the whole point of this show. And I want to draw attention to Anne's win, because I think this deserves some attention. She writes, I paid some major fixes on the Jeep the other week without putting it on a card. I had an unexpected dental appointment, but I've covered and I'm not worried about it. That's a huge win, Anne. Let me tell you, something that I've had to, manage is student debt. That is a massive thing in my world. So, for me to be financially conscious is a discipline that I've had to learn, how to hone in on. So good for you, Anne. What a great win. Thank you for sharing that. So let's get started, shall we, on today's topic. Today's topic is on the other four-letter word. So you guys know I drop an F-bomb often. I mean, I am someone who probably cusses more than the average person on a daily basis. I was raised by a sailor and I was raised by a saint. So I had a mom who was a nurse and dad who was a big patriot, American, sailor. And so for my household, cussing is just something typical. So, but the four-letter word I'm talking about today is fear. Fear is what I say. Fear is something that keeps us from reaching our potential. And so, fear is something that I want us to address today. And so let's get to why I am even talking about fear. Okay. So I am a big music fan. I love mostly all genres. There may be one genre that I'm not very fond of, but if it moves my soul and it makes me, thump my foot, I am all about music, from the heaviest of metal to the slowest jazz, song. I'm about gospel music too. I love rap. I love country. I love all kinds of music. And so last night I was watching the Billboard Awards. Because that is something I plan ahead. The Grammy Awards, the Billboard Awards, the American Music Awards. And if there is a singing competition, I'm all about it. So right now I'm all about The Voice. I love, this industry. I don't sing. I was taught to play the piano and the violin, but I'm not a singer. I am someone who's always wanted to, and I sing at the top of my lungs here. So I appreciate this industry. I appreciate the talent and the courage that it takes. And so something that got me thinking last night was Mariah Carey's acceptance speech for her Icon Award. Now, whether you like her music or not, that's beside the point. But her acceptance speech was very vulnerable. She talked about, first of all, thanking her fans and that the award was for them truly, because if you know her fans, they're quite fanatics. And so she talked though about her failures and her mistakes and the things that she's done that she's not proud of, but they have stuck by her. And so, just imagine the confidence that it takes. Now, she's got talent. There's no denying that. But the fear that you have to harness in this industry after, years of rejection, perhaps, after years of failure in front of the public eye, perhaps, there's so much that these artists go through. And yes, a lot of them by their own, their own doing. But a lot of really great artists out there are struggling today because they can't even get into the industry because of fear. And so when I, heard her acceptance speech last night, and I had not had I didn't design a show topic. I hadn't designed it at that point. I just knew I was going to come on live and wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. But after I heard her acceptance speech, I put something together so that we could talk about fear and how the average person, you and I, have to harness this, hone this in so that we can push those boundaries, the comfort zone that we like to, the parameter of comfort that we like to stay within. How about us average people that are just trying to get by every day? That's one thing for an artist like Mariah Carey or all those, other people on the Billboard Awards last night. But how about us trying to get through our lives day to day, right? And so let's talk about fear. So first of all, where does this come from? Where does fear come from? So fear is found in the amygdala. Now, I'm not going to get too scientific here, but it is in the amygdala, and it's about an almond-shaped size. The amygdala is that small, and it's between our temporal lobes. And so this is the fear center. I mean, can you imagine a tiny almond-shaped like thing in your brain that houses the fear? So that it's called the fear center. So in that fear center, in the amygdala, when you are triggered, when fear presents itself, what happens in the brain is that there's blood that rushes into that area. It then triggers a chemical response. And it's, chemicals like cortisol, chemicals like adrenaline even, epinephrine, and some other things that run through our bodies. So it all starts in the fear center. So fear, let me be very clear, it's not a bad thing. Fear is on purpose. It's a survival mechanism. Fear is something that we need so that we can survive. So let me give you an example. And I'm sure you've heard this everywhere. The saber-toothed tiger that was chasing, cavemen, the polar bear or the bear chasing you, and you're in a physical threat. Right? And so our reptilian brain, it knows that type of fear. And so what happens is the brain reacts in three ways. The brain reacts in either, fight, flight, or freeze. So that's how we react to fear, whether it's physical threat or a second kind of threat that I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But let's talk about those three reactions. So for me, I freeze. I get stopped dead in my tracks when I feel any discomfort. I will not act on it and I will not retreat. I will just stay and not do anything. Some people react by fighting. Let's say, for example, you are in the military. I'm married to a 33-year veteran of the military, combat soldier. Many things I can't talk about with you guys, but many things that he's experienced in physical threat, in the actual arena of physical harm. And so, he reacts to threat in that form, in fighting. And so you fight like hell for that, right? Or you flee, and that's the flight response. You just run away from the problem. So those are three ways our brain reacts to fear: fight, flight, or freeze. And so if you all can already identify how your brain reacts to fear, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear, what your take is on and how you react to fear in your brain. So those are three ways that we react to fear. And so, the second type of fear, so we talked about the real physical threat, right? Being chased by a tiger, being chased by a bear. Even if you're on a roller coaster ride, I no longer get on them because I just can no longer take action. I freeze. There's just no way you're going to get me on a roller coaster because of the physical threat I fear. Or how about our people in the military, right? They're in combat. They're in the front lines. They're trained to handle this physical threat. And so they have their ways of handling that, as you know. And so the other kind of fear is the emotional fear. And this is when our egos are being threatened. Okay. So we're talking about physical fear, which is real, legit, true fear, and versus emotional fear. These are the fears, this is the fear that threatens our egos. It threatens our identity. It gets us out of our comfort zone, right? And so those are two very different fears. And so these are the two types of fears that our brain processes. And so, as you all know, not many of us are put in physical, threatening situations, right? Unless you are in the military and serving our country. There's a reason for that, right? It's a survival mechanism. This is how our brains were designed. It was designed for surviving. And our brains react, to fear, either again, protecting it, or, keeping it from pain and keeping it from being threatened. And so there are two very different types of fear, like I just said, the physical versus the emotional. And so emotional fears can come up. They're irrational mostly. Some people experience imposter syndrome when they feel fear. That's something that I am recovering from. Let me tell you, it is true. Imposter syndrome happens when you reach certain levels of success, perhaps, and where you start questioning your credibility, your worthiness to even serve anyone. And that's something that I had to deal with I had to overcome to be here with you every Thursday talking to you guys. So imposter syndrome may present itself to you and it's a form of fear. Some of us, actually have, disappointment avoidance. That's another form of fear. We just avoid everything so that we don't feel disappointment or disappoint another. And so that's another way fear presents itself. How about self-sabotage? A lot of us do that, right? And a lot of us rationalize why we shouldn't move forward. A lot of us have the distractor syndrome. We distract ourselves. We detach. What do? We go straight to Facebook. We're on social media so we can distract from our lives and from the pain and fear that we're feeling. How about those that suppress the fear? Right? We do a lot of emotional eating. I know that's something that I too have had to deal with, where, I suppress the feeling of fear by shoving food down my throat. And so these are things that will present itself. So I know fear very well. And so if you know fear very well, comment in the section below. I want to hear from you guys. So fear presents itself in numerous ways. So again, physical fear, real legitimate fear versus emotional fear, the fear that we feel when our egos are being threatened because we are in this safe zone, this safe place of comfort. And when we get, when our self-identity is threatened, right? That's when we start feeling the ego, feeling that fear. And so what happens? We either flee, right? The fight or flight or freeze. We either, run away or we are stopped dead in our tracks, or we fight like hell for it. So that's how our brain processes fear. And so it's important that we identify how we individually react to fear, because the way I react to fear is very different than Anne. Or Patricia or whoever else is watching. I react to fear very differently than you all. And so it's something that we need to do we have to first identify that. And so I have some action steps for us to take, so that we can, harness this fear. And so it's really, about our conscious mind battling the subconscious programming. And so our conscious mind is about our dreams and our desires. This is you and I right now talking to each other. We're conscious, we're alert, we're aware, right? This is when we're studying, when we're learning, when we're actively doing something. We're conscious here. And so a lot of us have these conscious dreams and desires. But what happens when we can't move forward because we feel fear is because the subconscious programming that has a stronghold on us. And so if you're going to put the conscious mind and the subconscious programming in a battle, your subconscious programming will win. It's 100 times stronger than your conscious mind. And what is the subconscious programming? These are the things that we learned as children. This is the ideologies, the principles, the habits that we formed. It's the modeling that we have taken after our parents or those who have raised us or didn't raise us. This is the programming that is set in our subconscious minds. And so there's a difference there too. Conscious programming, again, is you and I talking. We are, achieving our dreams. We are wanting to, better our lives. We're going to school to educate ourselves so that we can learn our craft. This is our conscious minds. But then our subconscious programming, which is underneath the conscious mind, is so much more stronger. It's about 100 times stronger than your conscious mind. So we have to look at those habits, those principles, those ideologies that were embedded in us as children. So now we're adults. Okay. So, here we are talking about subconscious programming, and a lot of us had really rough childhoods. I'm almost positive. I am one of them. and if you're like me, you are coming to awareness of those patterns. You're coming to awareness of those unhealthy principles, beliefs, ideologies that you have been using your entire life. So you're here, you're with me right now. We're coming to awareness here. So what do we do to reprogram that subconscious, the subconscious tape, the recording that we have in our subconscious programming? Well, there's several ways that we can help with that. But let's get into some action steps, shall we? So I know we'll do a recap before we end our session together, but I do want to get to some of our action items before I run out of time. And then I'm going to get to our comments. I promise. I see you, Patricia. I see you, Anne. I will be certain to get to your comments here really, really soon. So take out a paper and pen. And if you're multitasking, please come back to me. Let's do this together. Remember, you can always watch the replay. So if you are driving right now, or you're not in a place where you can write or take out a Word document, no worries. Watch the replay so that you can get these action steps. So what do we do first so that we can harness fear? Well, first we have to come to awareness of what is holding us back. So if you are brave, if you have some courage today, will you please post in the comments below, what is the number one fear holding you back from achieving success? Success in your personal relationships, success in your financial, situation, success in your organization, success in your community. What is the number one fear holding you back from achieving success in these areas? Please, if you can, comment below. But if this is private, no worries. And again, if you're watching the replay, good. You can take more notes while you're doing that. Okay, so number 2, what would it feel like to achieve this success? So here in this step, we are opening our minds to the possibilities. So the first step was to come to, we're finding awareness. We are coming to terms with that fear is. What is it that's holding us back from achieving success? But step number 2 is now giving our brain the opportunity to see possibilities. So what would it feel like to achieve the success? Would it feel like pride? Would it feel like accomplishment? Would it feel like love? What would it feel like? So again, number 1, we are drawing attention to the fear right now. We have to bring awareness to it. Step number 2, again, we're opening up our brains to the possibilities of the mindset shifting and the possibilities of what can actually happen if we achieve or we overcome this fear. So let's move to step number 3. And I promise I'm going to get to your comments. Step number 3, let's talk about, is it real fear? We talked earlier at the top, or just a few minutes ago, we talked about the 2 differences, right? The differences between, physical fear, which is real fear, versus the false fear. The false fear is when our ego is being threatened. So is it fear of public speaking? Or is it, I'm being chased by a tiger? Is it the fear of accomplishment? Or is it the fear of jumping out of a plane? Is it physical threat versus false fear? Is it real fear versus the false fear? Physical versus the emotional fear. So we have to distinguish between the 2 here so that we can know, is this rational or is this irrational? And most of these fears, I promise you, are irrational fears. These are fears that we can absolutely address and hone in on so that we can harness this. And so that we can then meet our fullest potential. And so number 4, let me move my graphics everywhere because I've got a lot of graphics here. What is the one thing that you can do every day to eliminate this fear? What can you start doing today? Think about it. If it's financial success, what is the one thing you can do every single day so that you can start eliminating this fear? Perhaps it's a loving relationship. Perhaps it's finding the love of your life, or at least, an intimate relationship. What is the one thing you can do every day so we can start eliminating that fear? Remember, this is a step-by-step process. So if you're jumping on right now, we're talking about actually there's 5 steps and we're on number 4. And the 5th step is, you guys know me, I'm about taking action immediately. Take action right now. Don't get up from your seat until you take a very simple action towards eliminating this fear. So let's review this really quickly, and then I'm going to get to your comments. So number 1, what is the number 1 fear holding you back from achieving your success? And in what areas? Is it in your love life? Is it in your financial, situation? Is it, career promotion? What is it? So that's number 1. What is the number 1 fear holding you back from achieving success? This step is about finding awareness to the fear, because we have to put attention on it. We have to draw attention to it. Number 2, this step here, number 2, is about opening your brain to the possibilities of success. So what would it feel like to achieve the success? Jot that down in detail. Number 3, is it real fear? Remember, I talked about 2 different kinds of fears. Physical threat, that is legitimately real, or false fear. Is this the threat to the ego? Is it an irrational fear? So identify that here in step number 3. Number 4, what is the one thing you can do every single day to eliminate this fear? And as you guys know me, I love to take action, immediate action, and do that before getting up from your seat today. Take action right now. So we talked a lot. I talked a lot. Now it's time to hear from you guys. So I've got Monica. Yay. You are here, my friend. Let's see what Monica has to say. So Monica says she's feeling super overwhelmed coming back from vacation. Yeah, it's hard getting back to my personal goals and spiritual practices when I'm in such a whirlwind trying to get back on track at work. Yeah. No, well, first of all, that's understandable. So we have to have some self-compassion, right? But then we've already come to that awareness. So we know we are overwhelmed, right? So what is it that you can do today to feel less overwhelmed? Could you put, something back into your practice? If it is a spiritual ritual, what is it that you can put back today? Maybe possibly right now, the next 5 minutes. Maybe put in your earbuds or something and listen to a really great, meditation sequence. Or I know you love podcasts. I know you got some really great people that you listen to. So perhaps it's just, getting back into listening to someone who is in that space so that you can feel less overwhelmed at this point. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Patricia's here. Hello. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Anne, okay. Well, let's see here. And so thank you. She looks forward to watching these every week. Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate your support. Patricia says she was just talking to her son about this, which is why I was late. Oh, how funny. Well, I love you, and you radiate lots of love and lots of hugs, Patricia. Patricia's a great hugger. Yes, reprogramming our subconscious. That's the deal here. And that's how we're going to harness the fear. Because remember, the conscious brain is actually very weak in a moment of fear. And so the subconscious takes over. So whatever's programmed in that subconscious recording of yours will always win. So ways that we can overcome that. By the way, hypnotherapy is really, really great. What I'm doing now is Eldon Taylor's. I've talked about him before, I'm sure. Eldon Taylor has some really great subliminal, subconscious reprogramming MP3s that I download. Something that has helped me, open up my mind to creativity is he has a creative writing MP3 download. And that's something I listen to every single morning after meditation because my mind is then open and primed and ready to receive subliminal messaging. And so that has absolutely helped me kind of overcome the stuck, the freeze that I like to put myself in when I feel fear in writing, because I'm not the best writer. I'm a technical writer. I do business papers. I do dissertations. I do scientific research. So for me to find my writing voice is really, really challenging for me. So if you're on my email subscription list, then you know I'm trying really hard to kind of find my voice and get really personal with you guys in those emails. And so that's something that has helped me. So Eldon Taylor, he's phenomenal. He's got a ton of other things. So if you're looking for weight loss, or relationship building or public speaking, so whatever fear you're facing, subliminal messaging and programming can help. And his MP3s are phenomenal. So Eldon Taylor is that person. EFT, emotional freedom technique. I know Patricia, who's on our live right now, uses EFT. It is phenomenal. It is, Eastern medicine meets Western medicine, and it's phenomenal. EFT tapping, something that you should look into. Dr. Eric Church, is it Eric Church? I've got his book up here. I have to double check his name. I think it's Church. He has a great online course on EFT tapping. So these are ways that you can start reprogramming your subconscious tape, your subconscious recording. And this is how you can start helping yourself overcome these fears. Anne says, number one fear is her fear of failure and having people making fun of her for failing. Absolutely. Like this is, okay. So, it's absolutely something we all deal with, Anne. But when you really think about being physically threatened versus this emotional fear, it's kind of irrational, isn't it? And so not to take from what you're feeling, because I have a fear of rejection and I have a fear of looking stupid. And you know what? Every day I push through that fear, and every week coming on live with you helps me overcome that fear. So I don't care how stupid I look on this live, how ridiculous I sound. I don't care anymore. Like every day I'm taking action towards that. So find a way. And I know you got number 2 right here, my friend. Yes, how would it feel? It would be freeing. It would feel like freedom when you can harness that fear. You're number 1, right? Absolutely. And thank you so much for being so transparent as always. Patricia says, fear of my own distraction. I'm a huge multitasker and my family and life present this. Yeah, absolutely, Patricia. And I have to say, Patricia, you are a phenomenal mother. And you are so focused and hyper vigilant, I would say, with your son. And you are an amazing, amazing mom, because there's a lot of mean people out there in the world, especially these kids are learning and seeing and being programmed, not by us, but by our peers, in middle school, in grade school. I mean, this is stuff that will carry us through as adults. It's stored in our memory bank. So it's one thing for us to screw up our children, but it's one thing for others to screw them up. So let's be very real. We have to be hyper vigilant when it comes to our children. So that was her number 1. Her number 2, amazeball feeling. Yeah, it would feel great, right? To free yourself from that fear. Yeah, distractions are unproductive. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Anne shared her number 3 with us. It's the ego. So as you all know, number 3 was, is it fear, real fear, physical threat versus, emotional ego-based fear? And yeah, she identified that it's certainly ego, and she needs to not worry about what people think. Yeah. I am me. I am the best me I've ever been, and I'm only getting better. Heck yeah, my friend. You are absolutely getting better. Her number 4, she's going to implement affirmations, exercise, which I know you hired a trainer, so right on, sister, and meditation for sure. And you also have some really great podcast choices. You got some really great people that you listen to as well. So definitely incorporate more of that, Anne. And her number 5 is she's here and she's taking notes. That's her action today. She's not getting up from her chair. She's doing it now. Brown Santa UPS just brought me a box and there are some good books in there. You are so funny, Anne. So let us wrap up here because I know I'm going over time. So Monica, by the way, agrees to hypnosis. It's helped her tremendously. Yeah, and she gave me a recommendation for a sleep hypnosis or subliminal hypnosis tape. Recording. It's on, I believe, Audible, right, Monica? I think it's on Audible. So that's something that I need to also look into. Yeah, I love it. Thank you all so much. So I hope you guys benefited from this session with me today. Know that I am just like you, suffering through fear, suffering through these irrational ego-based fears. We're all in this together. And so, put these action steps in motion. Make sure that you are kind to yourself. You have some compassion for where you're at this point, but follow these action steps. Make sure you do take action and bring awareness to what you're going through right now, because I too am with you on that. So I want to, if you're watching a replay, by the way, will you please comment below, share your insights with us? Thank you so much for Patricia, Monica, and Anne for joining me live today. I really, really appreciate you and your support. I will make sure that I go back and read all the comments and again, reach out should you all have any insights or questions or concerns regarding the recommendations that I just gave you. Okay, everyone. So next Thursday, same time, same place. If you have ideas, by the way, for any shows, future shows, will you please also comment below? I want to hear from you guys. What do you want to hear more about? Do you want me to do, I don't know, more technical training in here? More self-empowerment training in here, maybe less leadership, more empowerment. What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you guys. And thank you, Patricia. I love you too. And I love you all very much. Okay, so have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. And I will see you guys next Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Y'all take care. Bye.